Okay, everyone, how you doing? I have been guilty of posting something, leaving you guys stewing over it for a long time. Last week, I posted a picture of my children with myself, and I put this caption on because I intended to make this video, but a lot of things have occupied my attention up until then. Some of you have asked me about it, which I appreciate because it helps me to remember. How to raise competent adults. How to raise competent adults is two parts. You will have to raise competent children and then convert your competent children into competent adults. And the key word is competent. Not obedient, competent. Because funnily enough, overly obedient people become incompetent over time. Because life is about making decisions and managing the retributions of those decisions. That's what life is. You make choices and the ramifications come. You adopt a position and the consequences will come. There is no running away from it. The ability to handle whatever comes. The ability, I was telling somebody, it's not about preparing. When I was younger, what I wanted to do was keep money on standby, have this on standby, have this on standby. No, actually, over time, I've come to know the capacity to make responses in real time and to hold your nerve whilst you make those transition points, whilst you go through the changes. Hi, Sister Maureen. That is the key thing between competent adults and incompetent ones. A competent adult is got to be somebody who has the skills required by the ecosystem, but they also need to have the mental capacity to recognize when their skills are in need, and they've got to have the strategic positioning to leverage the skills that they have to their maximum advantage. So some of the people who thrive are not the most intelligent. They are not the most skilled, but they do know how to leverage. And those people, I'm very good, Sister Maureen. Those people who know how to leverage and pivot will always trump the ones who just have the skills and do not know how to leverage. So these things are truths that have been known by some communities and some people for a while. And sadly, it's been something that so many of the people I talk to are unaware of. It is not really about getting your kids the best degree. It helps if you have the best degree. But what helps even more is if you know how to use the best degree. If you know how to leverage those things. If you don't know how to leverage, that's how people who are uneducated end up using your skills. A person who is uneducated but has the strategic mind to set up a business and to raise capital to employ you will still get to benefit from your degree brain and all it brings. They can lock you into a work routine, which is what happens to a lot of us in our workplaces. You are locked in, and then they enjoy the benefit of the skills you have. And so you will find the person who has not themselves gone to any university, who is strategic enough to own the business, will be the person who leverages and benefits from your business. They become rich, and you become the fool who works for them and gets peanuts. That is some of the truths about competence in survival in ecosystems that don't seem to be shared with a lot of people. You've got to be able to go to spaces and to have the mental alertness to be able to see what is happening in the spaces and to recognize where there is a benefit for you to position in a particular way. I know people who work for large portfolios, but the idea is that the portfolio you currently work with becomes the network that you will pivot off. And so you position yourself so everybody in that business knows you, that everybody wants to work with you. One day when they come and they ask for you and they are told you are no longer in the business, they get really disappointed. They get so disappointed that you are no longer in the business that they are bothered to go to LinkedIn to go look for you. You cannot be accused of touting anybody because they come finding you. but you touted them from the organization strategically by positioning yourself as the best employee possible, one that they do not want to work without. Those who know this, they go to places, they benefit from it. Next, you know that they have started their own business, which might be similar. They don't get sued because they are not stealing anything from anybody. I'm telling you about the difference between those who thrive and the rest who don't. Those who thrive, they seem to understand the game of life much better. Yeah, those who thrive, and it's complex. I know a lot of people who think that it's about getting a degree, or then you also hear people, a degree is not important, a degree is critical. But some people who don't have it will learn how to pivot and benefit from it even without their name on the certificate. So the actual degree is a game changer in the process. There are some people who just learn how to get access to a good degree without having their name on it. And there are some idiots who have their name on the degree, but do not learn how to pivot the degree. And so they sit and watch other people take advantage of them. And in this ecosystem, mental alertness is critical. I have been in business with some people, and after a short period of time, we are no longer in business because as for me, my eye, Kolo eye, is peeled at all times. I come to you, you are busy using a software to do something for me. You better know that I will look at the name of the software. You better know that I am going to be learning how to use that software for myself. If I come to your shop and you are using machines to do something for me, without asking you, I am going to note the name of the machine. I'm going to note the name of the machine. And it's going to go on my wish list. The earliest opportunity I get to buy the machine, I will buy the machine. And if it's possible for me to bypass, I will bypass. If it's possible for me to bypass, I will bypass. Why will I do that? Because I understand how to pivot and how to leverage. My friend was like, but that is Machiavellian. I don't know about Machiavellianism though. Maybe life itself is a survival of the fittest game. I think you've known this. Survival of the fittest has been known for how many centuries now? Yeah, the fittest will survive. And sometimes a lot of us mistake who the fittest is. The fittest is not the one with the biggest muscle. Women have proven that you do not need good muscles to be the fittest. A foolish man will jump to the top of a tree, get the fruit, and will not eat it himself and give it to the girl. The girl who bats her eyelid and gets the fruit brought from the top for her is the fittest. Here's Abna Pukuya. The fittest is actually a mental game. You can't be the fittest without the best muscles. You can be the fittest without being the tallest. You don't need to be the biggest to be the fittest. These are some of the things that need to be taught to young adults to make them competent. Resilience, self-reliance, the belief in one's own competence is a critical one too. If you don't believe in yourself, you will doubt yourself. You will talk yourself out of situations. If you don't have resilience, any little thing changes. No. I don't know, but I'm going to try. Don't know how it's going to go, but I'm going to respond. It is a mindset that those who are competent, those who thrive, have, and the rest don't. And so how do you raise competent adults? You raise competent adults by actual exposure to real situations. I remember maybe 4 years ago, sitting with my husband and talking to my husband about making my children competent enough to navigate what they are doing. My daughter arrived this morning. And my daughter is a spoiled apple of both of our eyes. We spoil her because we love her. Yeah. Wendy Ann, how you doing? We spoil her And about 4 years ago, the extent to which we have spoilt my daughter. Banchi Mankani. I cannot do you guys. That's your username, Banchi Mankani. Really? What about body? His name, I've decided it's a his. His name means cassava cocoyam. Yeah, cassava cocoyam. How am I supposed to talk to cassava cocoyam and take you seriously? Abanchi Mankani. Oh Lord Almighty. Anyway, 4 years ago, my daughter and my husband and I called my husband and I said to my husband, look, we have a problem looming. And he says, what? In 4 years, our daughter will need to go to university. We can keep her here in this region and she will never break free and she can remain dependent and would have done her the greatest disservice, or we can set her free. And at the moment, she will not survive one day if we set her free. And so my husband and I, we started a program of liberating my daughter. I started forcing them to travel on public transport here. Occasionally when I could, I sent her to England on her own way before she needed to go for university. And I started doing capacity building, engagement in different places. And yes, today when I picked her up, my daughter is a seasoned traveler. Wherever she happens, she made a stop in Germany before she comes. This time, good morning, Banchi Mankani. She made a stop in Germany before she came. Every time she comes, she makes a stop in a different place. She is very comfortable, very versatile. She was telling me some of the little strategies. So when she's coming, we book flights that do not have large baggage allowances. They travel on equal budget if we can. And so she was telling me that she has one backpack, but she had a small handbag. So she put the handbag on her back and she wore her jacket before she put the backpack on. And these are all little things that you do. You learn them from experience. Yeah. There have been times that my daughter has got to the airport and she's been charged the additional £50 because her bag was improperly packed. This time she was telling me that the things that she had in her bag were more than the last time she got charged because her bag was too big. The reason why the bag was too big was because it was improperly packed. It was not tactically packed. You see, from experience, now she knows. And so her packing is tactical. But she would only be able to do these things from first-hand experience, you know. You will try and tell them stuff, but there is only so much you can remember to tell them. A lot of what they will learn will have to come from experience. But it is better for you to let them experience it in advance before they need it. In life, strategy really is to have things in hand before you need it. So have money in the bank account before you need it, so that when you have it, you can just get straight to it. Have connections in hand before you need it. Whatever you need should be in existence before you need it. If you are somebody who's able to sort out your life that way, you will find that life is easy, because whenever you need it, it's available to deploy. Those who are reactive and responsive and never really plan things in advance, life is always dramatic, always. Even their rent is dramatic because there is no planning. Yeah. But young adults will need to know about these things. When they started traveling, my husband and I used to find the flights and we used to book the flights for them, and they would get tickets. Again, we sat down very quickly and figured out, one, they did not appreciate the amount of work that went into finding those tickets. And so in September, my son was giving the responsibility. The year before, he was supposed to book a flight. He booked a flight which was from Gatwick, and then he traveled to Heathrow, only to go and find out at Heathrow that he was at the wrong airport, and no, he couldn't make it to Gatwick on time. Missed the flight. It was a very expensive lesson, but needed to be learned. It needed to be learned. Summer, itineraries. He decided, and my husband and I were like, let him. He booked a flight combination which got him to the UK after 24 hours. He went from here to Bahrain, from Bahrain to Turkey, and from Turkey to the UK. By the time he got to UK, he was broken into. Yeah. Since then, they are all very careful with itineraries. But somebody has to let them have a chance to book a flight and to figure out how flights are booked, and to be willing to let them make mistakes whilst they are learning, because mistakes are typical during the process of learning. And yes, some of the mistakes will have financial ramifications, but what can you do? For me, these are low stakes mistakes that will help avoid a lot of high stakes later. When she arrived this morning, my husband and I are like, wow, hasn't she matured? Hasn't she grown into herself? But yeah, 4 years ago, we realized that my daughter would not have been able to do what she's doing at the moment if we carried on the way we were. And so in preparation for the fact that this was going to come and it was inevitable and it was better for her to be prepared, we started a program of exposure to travel, letting them go places. This summer, my husband and I left the children here and we traveled abroad for a week for me. But yeah, they were here on their own. It didn't bother me at the time because both of the children live on their own in university. And they are figuring out how to. So Amma, how do we raise competent adults? You raise competent adults by giving them learning experiences that prepare them for real life in advance. You don't just show them perfection, because life is not perfect. You show them the realities of life as much as you can do. Teach them that disappointment is part of life. It will not always go in their way. Statistically, it cannot always go in their way. And so you cannot teach them only to be prepared for things to go their way. In your conversations and orchestrations, you've got to make sure that they experience the reality of disappointment, of losing, because they will be disappointed and they will lose out on some things they would. And to teach them the emotional regulation to deal with anything that comes. I think that's one of the deficits a lot of the humans we encounter in this ecosystem do not have. Most people are never taught emotional regulation. Anytime something small goes wrong, they spiral. They spit out their dummy. They start screaming and shout. No. Emotional regulation. To not react when the stimulus exists. Yeah. Hey Zaba, how you doing? To let your children see reality. One of the things that we've done to let my children see reality. My children have lived in this country for a long time. And here, they live a life of privilege. And I realized that my children were beginning to think that resources hang on trees. And so we've made sure that they see frequently how many installments that we need to make and of exactly how much those installments are for maintaining their tuition and accommodation. I was looking for tutees for my son all the time, and I realized again that me finding tutees for him seemed very easy. And it's like, well, I will make a poster myself. I'm like, okay, go right ahead and make a poster. This year, I have not found him any tutees. I left it for him to find some. And he discovered that they weren't that easy to be found. He made a poster. He put the posters out, and there were no responses. So I had that conversation. Didn't you make a poster? He says he did. And it wasn't magical, and people did not instantly respond. He wants to make money. Great, go and get my merchandise. Again, I sell merchandise. And because I sell merchandise and he watches it, he thought selling was easy. So he went and collected them, created himself a beautiful business, WhatsApp business account, great. And I was asking him, how are sales going? Mom, people show interest and then it falls through. I'm like, really, does it? All right. Yeah, you need experience. Experience. And no, as a parent, you can't always just get in and circumvent learning. No. You've got to allow authentic learning experiences to be possible for your young adults. And you've got to talk to them. At the moment, my son is responsible for me and my wellness. And he was asking me, but why do I have to do? Because I'm training you how to lead a recalcitrant woman. Women will not come more recalcitrant than me. If you learn how to manage me and to lead me and to get me, coerce me to do things, you would be able to get any other woman to do anything. So come, we are learning. That is a conversation I need to have with him. It is me who needs to teach him about leadership, home leadership. Bodmas, hey, you people. Banche Bordia was here. Banche Mankani was here. Now Bodmas is also here. Somebody needs to start charging you for some of these usernames, you know. You cannot have names like that for free. Bodmas. Anyway, good morning. How you doing? Mariama. Salamu alaikum, my sister. Yeah. The realities of life and exposure to it is wonderful. When I get home now, I'm going to round everybody's ass. They are all, my daughter gets to sleep for today and tomorrow, but their ass needs to be rounded so they can work. This time I've decided they all need to work for the pocket money we will give them. Nobody's about to give them free pocket money in life. And they are getting old enough to be taught that lesson overtly. So yeah, we are about to get in. I require 5 hours of working in my business daily. Is that not exploitation? Really? Exploitation? Exploitation of whom? That I ask you to work in exchange for the money I give you is not exploitation, and they're like, what? Huh? Who? Yeah? You are not children. You are adults. You could have gone to work for other people. You are not. Well, if you could go and work for McDonald's and it wasn't exploitation, then working for me is not exploitation either, if it gives you the money in your pocket. But to raise competent adults, you need to be intentional. You need to be very intentional. You need to be very strategic in your intentionality. You need to be very tactical in identifying what is required and in orchestrating situations to deliver what is required. Sometimes you will need to rally your internal resources. Other times you will need to look at your network. But yeah, George, my mother raised me very competently. And some of the things that my mom used to do when I was a kid did not make sense until now. My mom would leave me in charge of her business. Rev Samuel, she will leave me in charge of her business and she'll travel. But when she traveled, she would take me with her when she could, especially when she was the external assessor. And I loved it when my mom was the assessor and the red carpet was rolled for her. Well, that introduced me to the notion of the red carpet. And it's one of the things that I love to experience in life. Jibodi, To do anything successfully in life requires you to be intentional and strategic. Make intentional and strategic. I saw that you had tagged me onto something about PGC grants, but I didn't receive any of those things, so I'm not even sure. I don't know. Hopefully, those who know might help us. Sister Comfort, how you doing? Anything, to do anything is strategic and tactical. I went to see this guy today. I'm coming from that meeting, and one of the things that came from that meeting was simple strategy. So my business strategy has been to try and recruit you guys from the bottom up, individuals, and then in reference to the individuals, maybe referrals to in groups and whatnot. And he sat me down and he pointed something out to me, obviously, and said, this is where you want to go. Right here. Yeah. Go here. This is what we're going to do. So there we go. I apologize that it took so long for me to start this conversation. I don't expect that one run of this will suddenly illustrate all the things that I've got to say about this. I know I will get a lot of you in. I'm going to give me practical examples. I hope that I have given you enough practical examples. I do love you to bits. I really do. But my prime engagement is on my business and its survival. Okay? So let me get on and let me get that done. Yeah, let me go and chase business outcomes, and I'll be back for us to engage and interact later on during the day. Yeah? Okay. Bye.